Hello, everybody. All right, Brooke with Conversations with Brooke. And today we are going to talk about giving your power away. And I want to talk a little bit about what happens when we give our power away, how to regain our power, um, why we give our power away. So, when we're talking about things like being raised in incredibly dysfunctional religious backgrounds, one of the things that happens, and I've talked a little bit about why people join these groups, but one of the things that happens is that we're looking for somebody to help us navigate life. And we're raised from a very young age. I mean, even if you think about little kids in school, to tell them what to do. I mean, when little kids, we start off by telling little children what to do. You're a parent, you're supposed to. But a lot of times we're not necessarily empowering our children to learn how to do things themselves. There should be a point where that shifts, where we aren't just teaching kids how to do it, but and enabling them to figure out how to do things themselves, that we're teaching them how to find answers within themselves. But a lot of times some parts of that are missed. The other thing that happens is when we make bad decisions in our life and we make a mistake, people tend to come down on us. So even as children, like, why did you do that? What were you thinking? So then we lose our ability to feel confident in our ability to make decisions in our life. So if you have an overbearing background where somebody was overbearing and made you feel like you made really bad decisions in your life, then you are likely to pull more people into your life who you rely on to make decisions for you. So people are always talking about, like, why do people get in abusive relationships? Why do people do this? Why do people do that? Well, we do that because we had something that happened when we were younger and it became a familiar habit. So growing up the way that I grew up, I was told at a young age that I should rely on other people for making the big decisions in my life because they knew better for me. So I grew up with that idea. I grew up with the idea that somebody else knew better for me what was good for me. And that if I trusted them and I followed what they told me to do, that my life would work out really well. That if I trusted and I followed this way, that I was going to reach this higher level of God. That if I trusted and I followed this way, that I was going to have a more beautiful life, that I would reap less karma, that I would not reincarnate, that I, like all these different things that were told to me at a young age as being a really negative thing. It was like, if you just listen and follow the path that we lay out for you, you're not going to have to worry about these things. So I didn't have a lot of self-esteem because I began losing it at a young age because of the way that we lived. And so I began to believe that. So after I got divorced and I had dated a little bit, the relationships that I created after that were not the greatest people. And I mean, I dated one guy who was incredibly emotionally abusive. He used to wake me up in the middle of the night to fight with me. Um, like midnight wake up calls, to midnight waking me up to tell me how angry he was, like out of a dead sleep. And there was a long time that I really beat myself up about, like, why did I create this relationship? And I think we get into relationships and we get into these moments all the time where we're going like, how did we get into this? Well, that's where I came from. Like, I came from that kind of dysfunctional background. I still saw myself as being somebody who had to take anybody who came their way. I was raised for years being told that and feeling like I wasn't somebody who was specifically lovable. So when I found somebody who liked me, I was willing to jump in the idea of like, oh, okay, this person likes me, so I have to let this person into my life, and I have to love them back because this is probably as good as I can get.
And it wasn't until I started working on healing that part within myself that was incredibly broken and saw myself as not being important that I began to regain some of my power and stop giving it away to somebody else and stop accepting less than the love that I actually deserve in my life. So we give our power, and I did the same thing in a career. I ended up getting into these jobs where I was incredibly undervalued. In my younger years, I worked without getting paid because that was the expectation in living in the community. It was the money that was made was kind of collectively shared. So I worked for years and I babysat and never got paid for it. I worked for years and I mean like I was always doing some job. I worked my ass off from the age of probably 14. My first job was probably at 14. And there was times that we had a restaurant at one point that I worked probably 7 days a week. I mean, I remember I had doubles there for 7 days a week for a couple weeks in a row without getting a day off. And I didn't even think about it. You know, that was just the expectation. So then as I got older, I was a single mother with two kids. Like I got to a point where I was working three jobs and making poverty level income. And I remember thinking to myself, I just need to work harder. God's going to provide for me because that's what I had been told my whole life. That's not exactly how it works. Um, if you don't have the value in seeing within yourself that you're worth more, nobody else is going to see that within you. So it wasn't until I began going in deep and learning to love who I was as a person that other people began to value me. People loved me as an employee because I was a fucking kick ass employee. I worked my ass off. But I also got paid nothing because I would accept jobs that I got paid nothing. Like I just, people be like, I didn't know what good money was. I mean, that was the other thing. Like, I really didn't know. So, giving your power away is about the place that because you view yourself so lowly, you allow other people to do it too. And you expect other people to know better for you what's best for you instead of you defining and determining what that is. What's best for you is only something that you know the answer to. But if you come from a really dysfunctional background, your view of that could be incredibly skewed. And depending on the people around you that you have in your life, they may not have the best ideal for you either because they may be in a similar circumstance. So, one thing I really recommend people doing is mirror work. And it's one of the most difficult things. And I know some incredibly successful people who won't do this. And I guarantee you, if you do this, you'll get some amazing results from it. So, what mirror work is where you get in front of the mirror and you say positive things to yourself. And you have to mean them. And it means looking yourself in the eyes and saying, I love you. And you're an amazing person. And you actually mean it. Looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself the things about you that you love. And when I first began doing this stuff, and I've been doing this for a very long time, but when I first began doing this stuff, I had an incredibly hard time doing it. I remember the first time I did it, I could not look myself in the face and see one thing about myself that I thought was redeeming. I had no idea that I was an attractive woman for most of my life. It was not even, it hadn't really occurred to me. I saw myself in an incredibly skewed view, and it was very negative. But to get your power back, you have to begin seeing yourself for who you are, and you have to begin seeing yourself for the beautiful qualities that you have.
you were put on this earth for a purpose. And it's probably something amazing that you're not getting in touch with because you don't see yourself the way others see you. I couldn't even see myself for the way that my kids loved me.